Hi hearts, it's Michelle from the Healing Heart. So I'm going to try and make this as short as possible because I have a tendency to make my videos so long and I don't want to make this one really long, but I do want to mention the jungle that I have behind me here. What do you think? That's all my outdoor plants that I had to bring inside because it's cold now. It's really cold in November in Canada. So yeah. So this is their temporary home, as close as I can get to my windows. And like I said before, we are in this construction phase right now and building in our home. So we are hopefully going to have some new space for my plants throughout the winter. But anyway, I just want to say hello and ask how you guys are doing. How are you coping? How are you handling things? It's been a really crazy first few days of November, but hopefully you're doing well and you're settling into a routine wherever you may be. Right now, I know we're all going through something similar yet different in different parts of the world. Today I wanted to just give you a really quick message from my guide Erik, and I work with many different guides. Erik is one of them, and if you don't know who Erik is, it's Erik from Channeling Erik, Erik Medhus, and him and his mom's site Channeling Erik, as well as him and his mom's new website, Atlantis Scalar. That they're doing some awesome work there too. But anyway, so if you don't know who Erik is, please go check him out. Check his mom out. But anyway, Erik will, he's my guide personally, and he also comes through and works with a lot of people that come and work with me because Erik, he works with a lot of us, and he works with many people that are mediums and work in healing. And so I am by far not the only one. Many of us work with Erik. So I was connecting with a friend earlier today who was having some issues with overwhelm. And gosh, like overwhelm is something that I know I can get overwhelmed at times. I'm sure that you can think of times that you've been overwhelmed. And when we think about everything that we're going through right now, overwhelm can be, well, overwhelming, right? And we all know what that feeling is when we're not sure whether we are turning to our left or to our right and what direction we're going in. Where do we start? How do we break things down? How do we get to the other side of things? How do we start to feel better? And so he had given 4 tips, and I'm going to break this down as best I can. But these 4 tips were simply about our physicality, about our mental, emotional, and spiritual connections, and how to implement those into whatever we're feeling or what we're going through to help guide us through that moment or that day or that time or however we want to apply it. And so, for example, we're just going to use a generalization of overwhelm. So I'm overwhelmed, I'm feeling stressed out, I'm feeling like my mind is going in different directions, I'm feeling this way, I know I should be calm, or let me rephrase that, I want to be calm, I want to be centered, but I'm darting all over the place and maybe picking up on some fear. And so how do I center myself, or how do I kind of figure out where I'm going so that I can think clearly, so that I can release, I can surrender to the moment, I guess is the best way to describe it. So number 1, Erik was saying, look at the physical, okay? So whatever your situation is in the moment, connect to the physical. And is there any physical action that can be taken right now? So is there anything physically that you can do? So you want to look at your scenario, look at your situation, look at whatever is happening in that moment. Can I do anything physically right now? So you look at your internal checklist, and if it's no, then you surrender that. You move on to the next step. If it's yes, then you go ahead and you do that action, if there's something you can do. The next step would be mental. Is there anything mentally going on. What thoughts am I thinking right now that are not supportive for me? And these are the steps that actually are the hardest steps, because it takes us that time to slow ourselves down and really look into the moment of what's going on. What is the thought that I'm thinking right now that is not assisting? What self-talk do I have that's not loving? What thoughts am I believing are the truth of this situation or of whatever is going on that is not? Are these thoughts even mine? So going into the mental, looking into the cycle, the patterns of thinking, and then choosing in that moment to surrender that thought, to remind ourselves that yes, this is a cycle, I'm in this pattern, this is what I'm thinking. I'm going to choose a different thought. I'm going to choose to believe, think in this direction. Okay? And then the next one is emotional. And so we want to do the same thing, he says, with the emotional that we just did with the mental, is what am I feeling right now? What am I feeling, and what would I prefer to feel? Now, first of all, it's important to say, what am I feeling? And to not only identify that feeling, but allow yourself to feel that feeling. And so sometimes it's, what am I feeling? And asking in this checklist, what am I feeling? And is it even mine to begin with? Am I feeling something because it's being projected towards me from someone else, from something else? And if it is, and you ask yourself, if it's not mine, let it go, and it will release if it's not yours. And this comes with practice, of course, but identifying the feeling, the emotion, if we can ask ourselves, what is this emotion, and when did I feel this before? When have I felt this before in my life? And take that reflection, take that little moment back through our emotional life, and when have I felt this before? What situation was this? How did that turn out? What was the circumstances to this? And doing this detective work with ourselves, whether we do this on paper or we journal it, doing this detective work helps us identify situations, and again helps lead us to the cycles that we're in, helps answer questions. So the internal checklist may be, is this something that I'm feeling, and do I need to, or should I let this go? Is this something I need to look further into? Is this something that's not mine and I can let this go? And again, it's not going to be just as easy as these words that we're saying, but the work actually comes from working in these processes. This is just to start to get yourself moving through whatever you feel stuck in or whatever you feel overwhelmed in. And then, of course, last but not least is the spiritual. And the spiritual being asking for help, ask your guides, ask your angels, prayer. What spiritual tools do you use? What spiritual tools do you have in your toolbox? He was suggesting, are you sitting and connecting with your guides? Are you meditating? Are you grounding? Are you clearing your chakras? Are you connecting with universal energy? Are you journaling? All the different tools that we have spiritually that we may cognitively understand and that we know, but are we implementing them? Are we using them through these times? Because what he was getting the point at saying is, a lot of times this work and any work that we do for ourselves, it's going to bring up things that we may not always want to look at, or it's going to bring up things that are painful, can be difficult to look at. But at the same time, that is the way out. The way through is the way out. And so having some sort of exercise to be able to identify what it is that's actually going on gives us a sense of relief. And even though surrender is about letting go of control, this gives a map to help us give the sensation of having some sense of control in situations that may otherwise feel out of control. I hope that makes sense, because I'm running through this quite quickly, and we can always talk about it a little bit deeper if anybody has any questions or wants to talk about that a little bit further. But something that I will just add before I go is something that I like to do is I actually draw out maps. I make maps. And if I've got a circumstance that's going on in my life, whether it be through a relationship, a situation, a feeling, something that I don't like the feeling of or I don't prefer, something that I feel I want to change, I draw maps and diagrams. And just like we were talking about, I will draw a map back to a circumstance or to a feeling. And this is how I create accountability for my own self. And it's how I do readings for myself with spirit, is I have to lay out the information, and then I can then apply the tools that I've learned to help heal and surrender what I need to. So I hope that little bit wasn't too much. A lot of information, and sometimes things fly through my mind. I'm seeing pictures and ideas and how I view it, and I always wonder, is that really coming out the way that I'm seeing it? And I hope it does. I hope there's something that you gather from that. So no matter what's going on, all of this is part of being human. The feelings of overwhelm, all of this stuff that's coming up in our lives right now is all part of the human process. But the very best part about this is that when we identify something, when we accept it, when we understand it, when we have awareness to it, we're able to do something about it. And when we do something about it, we're able to turn that page and we move through it, and we no longer carry the old way of how we did things. We no longer live in those cycles anymore. We create new experiences, new opportunities, and we're able to choose feelings for ourselves that feel better, which makes life a whole lot easier. Because we're always going to be human when we're here. We're always going to be human, so we're going to have these human feelings. So these are just some tips to help make it a little bit easier. All right, hearts, I thank you so much for being here. I love each and every one of you, and I hope to talk to you soon from my jungle. All right, love you all. Bye.